Captain Dae-hyun Park sat in his command chair aboard the Earth defense ship Horizon. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. His crew worked at their stations, checking systems and watching the stars beyond their solar system. It was supposed to be another normal patrol day. Then Lieutenant So-young Kim turned from her communication station. Her face was pale and worried. "Captain, I'm getting a strange signal. It's not from any Earth ship." Dae-hyun stood up and walked to her station. "What kind of signal?" "It sounds like a distress call, but the language is completely alien. The computer is trying to translate it now." So-young's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Captain, there are 3 ships approaching our space. They're badly damaged." The main screen showed 3 vessels unlike anything in Earth's database. They looked more grown than built, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to pulse with weak light. Smoke and strange fluids leaked from holes in their hulls. One ship was barely holding together. "The translation is coming through now," So-young said. She pressed a button and a voice filled the bridge. It sounded tired and desperate. "This is Keeper Irileth of the Valix people. We seek sanctuary. Our children are dying. Please, anyone who can hear this, we mean no harm. We only want safety for our young ones." Dae-hyun felt his chest tighten. The voice carried such sadness and fear that it made him think of his own daughter back on Earth. "How many are on those ships?" Ensign Woo Jin-han checked his sensors. "About 2,000 beings, Captain. Many of them seem to be children based on their size." Before Dae-hyun could respond, more ships appeared on their screens. These were different, dark, angular, and massive. They moved in perfect formation like hungry wolves chasing prey. There were at least 20 of them. "Captain," So-young said urgently, "the big ships are hailing us. They're demanding we move away and let them take the refugees." A new voice came through the speakers. This one was cold and mechanical. "Earth vessel, you will withdraw immediately. The criminals you see are property of the Dominion. They have violated our laws and must be returned for punishment." Dae-hyun looked at the 3 damaged refugee ships, then at the threatening fleet behind them. His training told him to contact Earth Command and wait for orders. But something in that first voice, in the word children, made him act on instinct instead. "So-young, open a channel to the refugee ships." "Captain," Woo Jin said nervously, "Earth Command didn't authorize first contact with aliens. We should wait for—" "The channel is open, sir," So-young interrupted. Dae-hyun stepped forward. "Keeper Irileth, this is Captain Park of the Earth Defense Force. What kind of sanctuary do you seek?" The reply came quickly, filled with desperate hope. "Captain Park, we are a peaceful people. We refuse to give our children to the Dominion for their war machines. They conquered our world and hunt us across the galaxy. We only want somewhere safe to raise our young ones in peace." "Captain," his weapons officer Taemin Choi whispered, "those Dominion ships have enough firepower to destroy us easily." Dae-hyun ignored him. Something about this felt right in a way he couldn't explain. "Keeper Irileth, follow my ship. We're taking you to Luna Station." The Dominion ships immediately moved closer. The cold voice returned. "Earth Captain, you make a grave mistake. These beings are dangerous criminals. Return them now or face the consequences." "So-young, open a channel to the Dominion fleet." Dae-hyun's voice was steady and calm. When the channel opened, he spoke clearly. "This is Captain Park of Earth. These people have asked for sanctuary and Earth grants it. We don't surrender refugees who seek protection. You do not understand primitive human. The Valix are telepathic. They spread dangerous ideas of peace and cooperation. They refuse to accept proper order. Your small world cannot protect them from Dominion justice." Dae-hyun looked around his bridge. His crew watched him with trust and worry. They were far from home, outnumbered, and facing technology they didn't understand. But sometimes the right choice was also the hardest choice. "Earth doesn't abandon people who need help," he said. "That's not who we are." The Dominion commander's anger was clear in his voice. "Then you choose to share their fate. We will return with a proper fleet to collect both the criminals and your world's surrender." The dark ships turned and disappeared into hyperspace, leaving empty threats hanging in the void. Dae-hyun turned to his crew. "Woo Jin, help guide those ships to Luna Station. So-young, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have refugees who need medical help in safe harbor." "What do we tell them about the Dominion threats?" Taemin asked. "We tell them the truth. Earth just made some very powerful enemies because we chose to help instead of hide." As the Horizon escorted the damaged refugee ships toward Luna Station, something extraordinary happened. The youngest members of Daehyun's crew reported feeling strangely calm and hopeful. It was as if something invisible was touching their minds with gratitude and peace. Dr. Hee-jin Lee, the ship's medical officer, was the first to understand what was happening. "Captain, I think the Valix children are trying to communicate with us telepathically. But instead of feeling invaded or controlled, our crew seem comforted." Daehyun nodded. Maybe that was why the Dominion feared these people so much. In a galaxy built on fear and control, the Valix offered something different. They offered connection, understanding, and peace. As Earth's moon grew larger on their screens, Daehyun knew his simple patrol mission had just changed everything. Earth had just declared itself a sanctuary world in a galaxy that didn't believe in sanctuary. The consequences would be enormous. But looking at those 3 battered ships full of children seeking safety, he knew they had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing was more important than doing the safe thing. Earth would protect them. Whatever came next, Earth would stand by its choice. Dr. Hee-jin Lee walked through the medical bay at Luna Station, amazed by what she was seeing. 3 weeks had passed since Captain Park brought the Valix refugees to safety. What happened next surprised everyone. The Valix were unlike any life form humans had ever imagined. They were tall and slender, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly in low light. Their large eyes held deep intelligence and kindness, but the most remarkable thing about them was how they communicated. "Dr. Lee," Nurse Nari-song called softly, "you need to see this." Hee-jin followed Nari to where a group of human children from the station's families were playing with young Valix. The alien children had been terrified and sick when they arrived. Now they laughed and played games without speaking a single word aloud. "They're talking to each other telepathically," Nari explained, "but our children don't seem afraid. If anything, they seem happier than before." Hee-jin watched as her own 6-year-old nephew, visiting the station, shared his toy spaceship with a young Valix girl. The moment their hands touched, both children smiled with perfect understanding. No words were needed. "It's incredible," Hee-jin murmured. "Every other species in the galaxy reports that Valix telepathy feels invasive or overwhelming. But with humans, it feels natural." Across the station, Ambassador Taemin Choi faced a much less pleasant situation. His communication center was flooded with angry messages from the Galactic Council. 7 major alien species demanded that Earth surrender the Valix immediately. "They're threatening economic sanctions," his aide Kyung-soo Lim reported. "The Kronar Empire says they'll block all trade routes to Earth. The hegemony is threatening to declare us an enemy species." Taemin read through the messages with growing concern. The threats were serious, but the reasons behind them were confusing. They keep saying the Valix are dangerous, but they won't explain why. What makes a species of peaceful telepaths so threatening? His answer came from an unexpected source. Keeper Irileth herself visited his office, moving slowly but with dignity. Her telepathic voice was gentle in his mind, speaking perfect Korean. "Ambassador Choi, may I share with you the truth about why the Dominion fears us?" Taemin nodded, and suddenly he saw images in his mind. He saw the Valix homeworld as it once was. Beautiful cities that grew like living things. Children playing in gardens that responded to their emotions. Adults working together in perfect harmony because they could feel each other's thoughts and feelings. "We were not conquered because we were weak," Irileth explained. "We were conquered because we showed the galaxy what they had lost. Most species once had empathy like yours. They could feel compassion for strangers and protect those who needed help. But the Dominion has spent centuries teaching them that such feelings are weakness." Taemin saw more images, species after species being forced to choose between their natural kindness and their survival. Those who chose kindness were destroyed or enslaved. Those who chose survival became part of the Dominion. "When Dominion leaders touch our minds," Irileth continued, "they remember what they once were. They remember their own children, their own capacity for love. This terrifies them because their power depends on others believing that compassion is foolish." Meanwhile, engineer Woo Jin-han was making discoveries that would change everything. Working alongside Valix technicians in the station's workshops, he learned about their incredible biotechnology. "Their ships aren't built," he explained to his team. "They're grown. Living metal that repairs itself. Organic computers that learn and adapt. Navigation systems that respond to emotions rather than just mathematics." The Valix engineer he worked with, a gentle being named Thais, showed him something remarkable. When human and Valix technicians worked together, their technologies began to merge in unexpected ways. Computer systems became more intuitive. Medical equipment started responding to patients' emotional needs as well as their physical ones. Your species has something special, Dice communicated through thought. You can bond with our technology because you approach it with curiosity instead of the desire to control it. This cooperation caught the attention of Captain Su-Jin Yu, who commanded the station's defense systems. She watched in amazement as human and Valix engineers created hybrid technologies that seemed almost magical. The new shield generators don't just stop energy weapons, she reported to Earth Command. They somehow convert the hostile energy into something harmless. It's like the shields are trying to heal the attackers instead of just defending against them. But the most significant discovery came from an unexpected source. Young specialist Dongwoo Kim was assigned to help Valix children who were having trouble sleeping. The trauma of seeing their world destroyed and their families scattered had left many of them with terrible nightmares. Dongwoo wasn't a trained counselor, but he had a kind heart and infinite patience. He would sit with the frightened children, reading them stories from Earth or just talking softly about safe things like favorite foods or funny animals. One night, a particularly distressed Valix child named Lise reached out telepathically in his sleep. Instead of the usual healing that Valix could share with each other, something new happened. Dongwoo's natural human empathy combined with Lisa's telepathic abilities, creating a kind of emotional healing that was stronger than either species could achieve alone. The children are getting better faster than our healers thought possible, Keeper Irilith told Dr. Lee the next day. Your people have a gift we have never encountered. You can strengthen our abilities while we strengthen yours. As word of these developments reached Earth, the planet faced a difficult choice. The Galactic Council's threats were becoming more serious. Several alien species had begun positioning warships near human space. The message was clear: surrender the Valix or face the consequences. But Earth's leadership was also hearing reports about the remarkable cooperation happening at Luna Station. They learned about technologies that could heal instead of harm, about children of two different species playing together without fear, about the possibility of a new kind of partnership among the stars. President Min Jung-oh called an emergency session of Earth's Global Council. The question before us is simple, she said. Do we abandon people who trust us because we're afraid? Or do we stand by our principles even when it's dangerous? The debate was intense, but the outcome was never really in doubt. Earth had always been a world that took in refugees, that protected the weak, that chose principle over convenience. The Valix situation was no different. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not surrender the Valix refugees. As news of this decision spread across the galaxy, something unprecedented happened. Small groups from various species began sending secret messages to Earth. They were dissidents, rebels, and freethinkers who had been forced into silence by Dominion rule. We remember what we used to be, one message read. If you can protect the Valix, maybe there is hope for the rest of us too. Earth had chosen to embrace the rejected. Now they would discover that they were not alone in believing that compassion was strength, not weakness. Admiral Kyung-Soo Lim stood in Earth's military command center, staring at the holographic display that showed the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 3,000 warships from 7 different species hung in space just outside the solar system. The message they carried was simple and terrifying. Sir, Colonel Young-Ho Bei said quietly, the Dominion commander is demanding a response to their ultimatum within 12 hours. Kyung-Soo read the message again, though he had memorized every word. Surrender the Valix criminals and submit to Dominion authority, or Earth will be destroyed as an example to other primitive worlds. The threat was real. Earth's entire space fleet consisted of only 200 ships, most of them designed for exploration rather than war. Against 3,000 battle-tested warships, they had no chance of winning a traditional fight. Have we heard anything from the other species in the galaxy? Kyung-Soo asked. Young-Ho shook his head grimly. Nothing official, but our intelligence suggests that many species are terrified. The Dominion has never assembled a fleet this large before. Some worlds are already preparing to surrender valuable resources just to prove their loyalty. What neither man knew was that in a small medical bay on Luna Station, something was happening that would change the nature of the coming conflict entirely. Valix Elder Morvain lay connected to the station's bioorganic communication system. She was ancient even by Valix standards, old enough to remember her people's history from before the Dominion's rise to power. As the largest fleet in galactic history prepared to destroy Earth, she made a decision that violated every law of her people. She opened her mind completely to the humans around her. Dr. Hai-Jin Lee gasped as alien memories flooded her consciousness. But these were not Morvaine's memories alone. They were the racial memories of the Valix people, passed down through thousands of generations of telepathic contact. She saw the galaxy as it once was. She saw species after species that had been like humanity, curious, compassionate, willing to help strangers and embrace differences. She watched as the Dominion systematically destroyed or converted each of these peoples over the course of millennia. They were all like us once, Hai-Jin whispered as the visions faded. Every species in the Dominion once valued kindness over conquest. Morvaine's telepathic voice was weak but determined. The Dominion fears you because you represent what they all used to be. If other species see that such goodness still exists, they might remember their own lost compassion. Meanwhile, Captain Sujin Yu was discovering something remarkable about Earth's defenses. The bioorganic technology that Valix engineers had helped install wasn't just making their systems more efficient, it was making them fundamentally different. Captain, Engineer Dongwoo Kim reported excitedly, the new shield generators aren't just protecting our ships, they're connecting them. When one ship takes damage, the others automatically share their power to help it heal. Sujin watched the test results with amazement. It's like our entire fleet has become one living organism. That's not all, Dongwoo continued. The Valix children have been asking to help. They want to link their minds with our pilots and gunners during the battle. Is that safe? Sujin asked. Dr. Lee says it's more than safe. The children's telepathic abilities could give our people faster reflexes, better awareness, and perfect coordination. But more importantly, they would share the children's natural instinct to protect rather than destroy. As Earth's small fleet prepared for the impossible battle ahead, word came from an unexpected source. 3 Dominion ships had broken formation and were approaching Earth under a flag of truce. Ambassador Taemin Choi met with their representatives in a heavily guarded conference room. To his surprise, the alien seemed nervous and uncertain rather than threatening. We are the Kalahari, their leader explained through a translator. We joined the Dominion 300 years ago when they conquered our homeworld. But recent events have made us question our choices. Taemin leaned forward. What kind of events? Our ships carry Valix prisoners taken during the destruction of their world. When we learned that you had given sanctuary to their children, some of our crew began to remember things we thought we had forgotten. The Kalahari commander's hands shook as he continued. We once had a tradition of protecting refugees. Our ancient song spoke of honor in defending the weak. But the Dominion taught us these were primitive ideas that led only to destruction. What are you proposing? Taemin asked carefully. We want to surrender our prisoners to you, all 500 of them. And we want to ask, is there room in your sanctuary for species who have done terrible things but want to be better? News of the Kalahari defection spread quickly through the Dominion fleet. Within hours, 2 more species had sent secret communications to Earth. The Dominion's perfect unity was beginning to crack, but the main fleet remained, and its commander was furious. Admiral Vextar of the Kronar Empire had built his entire career on the principle that strength came from domination. The idea that primitive humans would dare protect Dominion enemies filled him with rage. Prepare for immediate attack, he ordered his fleet. We will destroy Earth's pathetic fleet first, then bombard their planet until they surrender the criminals. On Earth, alarms began sounding as 3,000 enemy ships moved into attack formation. In command centers around the planet, humans prepared for a battle they could not win through conventional means. But Captain Dae-Hyun Park, now commanding the flagship New Horizon, had a different plan. As Valix children took their positions alongside human crew members, he opened a communication channel to the entire Dominion fleet. This is Captain Park of Earth. You have come here to take away people who sought sanctuary. You threatened to destroy us because we chose to help instead of harm. But before you attack, I want you to know something about humanity. Throughout the Dominion fleet, alien crews listened with confusion and growing unease. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy, Dae-Hyun continued. We are not the smartest or the most advanced. But we are the species that chooses to help strangers. To protect children, to offer hope to the hopeless. If you destroy us, you destroy the last proof that such goodness can exist among the stars. Admiral Vextar's response was immediate and brutal. Enough talk. All ships open fire. The largest battle in galactic history was about to begin. But as the first energy weapons fired across the void, both sides would discover that this would not be the kind of war anyone expected. The children of two species linked mind to mind in defense of Sanctuary itself would show the galaxy what true strength looked like. The battle for Earth was about to become a battle for the soul of the galaxy itself. The first energy blast from the Dominion fleet lit up space around Earth like deadly fireworks. Captain Ji-Hoon-ro gripped his command chair as his ship shook under enemy fire. But something strange was happening. Instead of the fear and anger he expected to feel, a calm certainty filled his mind. In the seat next to him, 12-year-old Valix refugee Thais had her small hand resting on the ship's bioorganic control interface. Through their telepathic link, Ji-Hoon could feel what she felt. Not hatred for their attackers, but sadness that so many beings had forgotten how to choose peace over violence. All ships, remember what we're fighting for, Ji-Hoon broadcast to the Earth fleet. We're not here to destroy. We're here to protect. Across the battle zone, something unprecedented was happening. Human pilots linked with Valix children were fighting with abilities that seemed impossible. Their reflexes were faster than computers. Their coordination perfect, their tactics brilliant. But more importantly, they were broadcasting something that hadn't been felt in the galaxy for centuries. Pure, unconditional acceptance. Commander Yoonji Park led a squadron of 12 fighters toward the massive Dominion flagship. Her Valix partner, young Liz, guided her through the enemy formation with telepathic precision. But instead of targeting weapons or engines, they aimed for communication arrays. Liz, can you send our feelings to their crews? Yoonji asked silently. Yes, came the child's mental reply. But are you sure? They will feel everything we feel. Do it. As Yoonji's squadron closed with the enemy flagship, Liz opened her mind completely. Suddenly, every being on the Dominion command ship experienced something they had forgotten existed. The feeling of being welcomed without condition, of being valued simply for existing, of being safe and protected without needing to prove worthiness. Admiral Vextar of the Kronar Empire staggered in his command center, as alien emotions flooded his consciousness. For the first time in 40 years, he remembered his own children, not as they were after military conditioning, but as they had been when they were small and innocent and looked at him with pure love. Sir, his weapons officer reported in confusion, 3 of our escort ships have stopped firing. They're asking for permission to withdraw from battle. Vextar tried to ignore the strange feelings in his mind, but they were too strong. Through the telepathic link, he experienced what the Valix children had felt when they first arrived at Earth. The wonder of being greeted with kindness instead of suspicion, the relief of being safe after so much fear, the joy of being accepted by strangers who asked for nothing in return. Keep firing, he ordered, but his voice cracked with uncertainty. Throughout the Dominion fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Dr. Sang-Woo Kang had worked with Valix healers to create something extraordinary, a way to broadcast memories instead of weapons. As Earth's ships engaged the enemy, they transmitted images of refugee ships arriving at Luna Station, of human families volunteering to house alien children, of two species learning to work together despite having no common language except kindness. The effect was devastating to Dominion morale. Beings who had spent centuries believing that compassion was weakness suddenly remembered what they had lost when they abandoned such feelings. Captain Sujin Yu, commanding the orbital defense platforms around Earth, watched her displays in amazement. Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 Dominion ships. They're asking permission to defect. What about their crews? Admiral Kyung-Soo Lim asked from the command center on Earth. They're requesting sanctuary. They say they want to remember what it feels like to protect instead of conquer. But the battle was far from over. Admiral Vextar, desperate to maintain control of his fleet, ordered his most loyal ships to fire on any vessel that showed signs of defection. The space around Earth became a three-way battle as Dominion forces began fighting each other. Lieutenant Commander Min Jung-oh saw an opportunity. Leading a rescue squadron of human and defected Kilhari ships, she moved to protect Dominion vessels that were being attacked by their former allies. This is Lieutenant Commander O of Earth, she broadcast to a damaged, Kronar cruiser that was being pounded by its own fleet. "We're coming to help you. Why?" came the confused response from the Kronar captain. "We came here to destroy you, because that's what we do," Minjung replied simply. "We help people who need help." As human and defected alien ships worked together to rescue crews from vessels destroyed by their own side, something fundamental shifted in the battle. This was no longer a fight between Earth and the Dominion. It had become a fight between two different ideas of what civilized beings should be. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Vextar watched his fleet tear itself apart and felt something break inside his chest. The telepathic connection with the Valix child had shown him not just human memories, but his own suppressed past. He remembered being young on his homeworld, before the Kronar became part of the Dominion. He remembered a time when his people valued honor and protection over conquest and control. "Admiral," his first officer reported quietly, 43 ships have defected. 22 more are requesting permission to withdraw from battle. The remainder are split between ships loyal to you and ships loyal to the overall Dominion command." Vextar stared at the battle display. His magnificent fleet, the largest ever assembled, was destroying itself. And it was all because a group of primitive humans had chosen to protect refugee children instead of surrendering them. "Sir," his communications officer said hesitantly, "the human flagship is hailing us. Captain Park wants to speak with you directly." Vextar almost refused, but something in the strange emotion still echoing in his mind made him curious. "Put him through." Captain Dae-hyun Park's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Vextar could see human and Valix crew members working side by side in perfect harmony. "Admiral Vextar," Park said calmly, "this battle is tearing your fleet apart. Your own people are fighting each other because they've remembered what they used to believe in. How many more ships will you sacrifice to prevent others from choosing compassion?" "You understand nothing," Vextar replied, but his voice lacked conviction. "The galaxy requires order. The strong must rule the weak, or there is only chaos. Look around you," Park said quietly. "You brought 3,000 ships to destroy us because we chose to help instead of harm. Which of us is really bringing chaos to the galaxy?" On his bridge, Vextar was surrounded by the sounds of his fleet destroying itself. Ships that had fought together for decades were now firing on each other. Commanders who had been friends were now enemies. All because they had been forced to choose between their orders and their conscience. For the first time in his adult life, Admiral Vextar began to wonder if he had spent his entire career serving the wrong cause. The battle continued to rage around Earth, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. The Dominion fleet was broken not by superior firepower, but by the simple reminder that there was another way to live among the stars. As rescue ships from both sides worked together to save survivors from destroyed vessels, a new alliance was being born in the fire of battle. It would not be an alliance based on conquest or control, but on the radical idea that different species could choose to help each other rather than harm each other. The galaxy had rejected this idea for centuries, but Earth was proving that it still had power to change hearts and minds across the stars. 6 months after the Battle of Seoul, Captain Bora Shin stood on the observation deck of New Haven Station and marveled at what she saw. The space around the station bustled with ships from dozens of different species, all living and working together in ways the galaxy had thought impossible. The station itself was a wonder of combined human and Valix engineering. Instead of cold metal corridors, the halls seemed to grow and breathe like living things. Walls that sensed their inhabitants' emotions provided gentle warmth when someone was sad or soft, cooling breezes when they were stressed. Gardens flourished in zero gravity, tended by both human children and young beings from 7 different worlds. "Captain," Engineer Seok Jin Yang called as he approached with his latest report. "The first Sanctuary-class ship is ready for its test flight." Bora followed him to the construction bay where the new dawn waited. The ship looked like it had been grown rather than built, its hull covered in patterns that reminded her of both circuit boards and flower petals. This vessel represented something completely new, a starship designed not for conquest but for rescue. "How does it work?" Bora asked, running her hand along the smooth, warm surface of the hull. "The ship's bioorganic systems respond to the crew's intentions," Seok Jin explained. "When they want to help someone, the ship becomes faster and more efficient. When they need to defend refugees, the shields become stronger. But if anyone tries to use it for aggression or conquest, The system simply won't respond. Dr. Ara Kim joined them, carrying a data pad full of her latest research. The partnership between humans and Valix is producing results we never expected, she said excitedly. Both species are evolving. Humans are developing enhanced empathic abilities, while the Valix are gaining our resilience and innovative thinking. Bora had seen this herself. Her own daughter, now 8 years old, could sense the emotions of beings from any species. Meanwhile, young Valix like Thais were creating new technologies that combined telepathic sensitivity with human problem-solving skills. In the station's diplomatic center, Ambassador Jae-sung Moon was addressing representatives from the reformed Galactic Council. The organization looked very different now. 4 species had completely abandoned the Dominion after experiencing what they called the human revelation. Others were demanding major changes to galactic law. The old way of thinking about strength and weakness has failed, Jae-sung told the assembled delegates. For too long, the galaxy has believed that power comes from conquering others. Earth and its allies propose a different path: strength through protection, unity through acceptance, peace through understanding. In the audience, former Admiral Vexitar listened intently. The Kronar commander had defected during the battle, bringing 12 ships and 5,000 crew members with him. The decision had cost him everything he had once valued, but given him something he thought he had lost forever: the ability to sleep peacefully at night. Ambassador Moon, the hegemony representative, said with obvious skepticism, "Your idealistic words sound pleasant, but how do you propose to deal with species that still choose conquest over cooperation?" Jae-sung smiled and gestured toward the viewing screen that showed the space around New Haven Station. "We protect the innocent and offer sanctuary to any being that seeks a better way. Those who choose violence will find themselves increasingly alone as more species remember what they once were." The proof of his words was visible throughout the station. Former Dominion soldiers worked alongside their former enemies, united by shared values rather than divided by old conflicts. Engineers who once built weapons now created healing technologies. Warriors who once fought for conquest now volunteered to rescue refugees from across the galaxy. In the medical bay, Dr. Hai-Jin Lee watched something that still amazed her after all these months. Human and Valix healers worked together to treat patients from species that had been enemies just a year ago. Through their telepathic links, they could diagnose emotional trauma as easily as physical injuries and treat both with equal skill. "Dr. Lee," Nurse Nari Song called from across the bay, "we have incoming refugees from the Outer Rim. 3 ships carrying survivors from a world the Dominion just conquered." Hee-jin felt the familiar surge of purpose that came with such announcements. "Prepare the emergency bays and send word to the volunteer families. We'll need housing for about 200 beings." This had become routine at New Haven Station. As word spread that Earth offered true sanctuary, refugees from across the galaxy sought them out. Each new group brought their own knowledge, skills, and perspectives, making the station stronger and more diverse. Engineer Woo Jin Han rushed to the docking bay to meet the newest arrivals. These refugees were from a species called the Morality, small beings with crystalline skin that reflected their emotions in shifting colors. They had been forced to flee their homeworld when they refused to surrender their children for military service. "Welcome to New Haven," Woo Jin said through his universal translator, as the Morality families disembarked from their battered ships. "You're safe now." The lead Morality refugee, an elder named Kristen, looked around the docking bay with wonder. She saw humans, Valix, former Kronar soldiers, and defected Kelhari all working together to help process the new arrivals. Her crystalline skin shifted to warm gold tones that her species used to express gratitude. "Is it true?" she asked through her translator. "Do you really protect refugees without asking for anything in return?" "We ask for only one thing," Woo Jin replied with a smile. "That you help us protect the next group of refugees who come seeking sanctuary." As the Morality families were led to temporary housing, word came that Admiral Daehyun Park was ready to launch the first sanctuary fleet. 5 ships, each grown rather than built, each designed to find and rescue species that the galaxy had rejected. Park stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity, surrounded by a crew that included beings from 8 different worlds. His first officer was Thys, the young Valix who had grown into one of the most gifted navigators in known space. His chief engineer was a former Kronar warrior, who now used his tactical skills to plan rescue missions instead of attacks. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Thais communicated telepathically, her thoughts carrying undertones of excitement and determination. "Then let's go find some people who need help," Park replied. As the Sanctuary fleet departed New Haven Station, they carried with them something that hadn't existed in the galaxy for over 1,000 years. Proof that different species could choose cooperation over conquest, protection over predation, love over fear. Their mission was simple but revolutionary. They would search for any species that the Dominion had marked for destruction or slavery. They would offer sanctuary to any being that sought a better way of life, and they would prove, one rescue at a time, that the galaxy's long age of darkness was finally coming to an end. Back on New Haven Station, Captain Bora Shin watched the fleet disappear into hyperspace and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The Valix had been rejected by the galaxy, but Earth had embraced them completely. Now that embrace was spreading across the stars, carried by beings who had learned that true strength came not from forcing others to submit, but from helping them to flourish. The galaxy had rejected them, but Earth had embraced them whole. And now, that embrace was becoming the foundation for a new kind of civilization among the stars. In his private quarters, former Admiral Vextar sat with his grandson, a young Kronar who had never known war. Together they watched recordings of the refugee ships arriving at New Haven Station, and Vextar told him stories of what the galaxy was like before the Dominion, and what it might become again. "Grandfather," the child asked, "why did it take so long for everyone to remember how to be kind?" Vextar thought carefully before answering. "Sometimes, little one, we become so afraid of being hurt that we forget how good it feels to help others. But the humans never forgot. And because they remembered, now we can all remember too." Outside their window, the stars shone with new hope, and somewhere among them, the Sanctuary fleet continued its mission of finding the lost and bringing them home.